Speaking from the lens of a survivor and a professional, one most challenging encounter for survivors of human trafficking is having to bear the burden that is caused by those who profited from their victimization. This is an attribute for so many untold stories of survivors of human trafficking around the world, whose stories are not believed because they do not sound like sensational perfect victims. My name is Malaika. I'm a founder of Footprint to Freedom, a survivor-led organization that empowers survivors to take the front line in the fight against human trafficking, but also it promotes survivor leadership. I am a speaker, a mentor, a coach, an advocate for victims' rights, but most of all, I am a survivor of human trafficking. The idea or the narrative of a perfect victim is not only dangerous, but also it blinds us from seeing the victims that are standing before our very eyes. Survivors do not have to be perfect for us to believe them. To date, so many cases remain unattended to because the victims lack credibility in the way they answer the questions. But some of these questions are just a sword that opens the wounds of these survivors to their traumatic experiences. And some of these questions contradict with the value norms of the victims and the survivors, but sometimes the victims are not ready to open the wounds of what happened to them. I know this from experience that most girls who are victims of human trafficking have a history of abuse, neglect, and not being heard. So crying and tears have only showed them that they will get them into more trouble. So they come up with the cover narrative that is numbness as a way to survive. But this numbness of survivors, unfortunately, has made them be misjudged or being looked at as not emotional enough to be real victims. In order to achieve more convictions, there is need to build a better relationship between victims and the federal agencies. But also, there is need for the agencies to incorporate victim-centered and trauma-informed practices during their identifying victims, but also in prosecuting the human trafficking offenses. Better still, there's also need for more collaboration between survivor professionals of human trafficking with the federal agency. This can help in coming up with more effective strategies in prosecuting and preventing of human trafficking, and also in crafting the right policies. Why? Because survivors of human trafficking know firsthand the tactics and the strategies that traffickers use to bound people into slavery. For example, they know firsthand what their recruitment tendencies, their mentalities, and the strategies they use to escape the law. I believe that engaging survivors and victims with the federal agencies, this effort will increase prosecution of traffickers, protect victims, and prevent future victimization of survivors of human trafficking.